Hey everybody, it's Rokita. I wanted to hop on camera and talk about my experience with helping another artist make over $360,000 on Kickstarter. So in my last video, I talked a little bit about how much I made over the last year as an artist. I made a little over $25,000. And in that video, I talk about a specific experience that I had. It was a very brief mention. I worked for about a year for this company where I was helping them with a Kickstarter campaign for another artist, and we were able to raise over $360,000 for a handmade book of all things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that experience. I'm hoping that my tips or just like my experience in general will be helpful or insightful. So just some backstory, okay? I used to work as a fine arts librarian. I did that for almost 5 years after getting my library degree and having gone to school for art history with a focus in medieval studies, okay? Very nerdy, I know. And during that time, I think it was like right after I had graduated from undergrad. I had gone to this medieval studies conference to give a paper. It was my first paper. I was really nervous. And I walked into the area where they had all the book vendors. If you've ever been to a conference, you know that there's always, an area for the vendors. And sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's cheesy. The medieval conference is definitely a lot of both. But I walked in there for the first time and there was a booth for this business called Facsimile Finder. And they had all of these high quality copies of medieval manuscripts, and they were just so beautiful. I was taking all these pictures with my phone, and the owner of the business, Giovanni Scorzioni, he was there, and we immediately hit it off and became friends. And once I started working in the art library, we would collect books from him. And a lot of the professors would use them as teaching tools in the classes. And so I loved that. It was so fun. And I loved every year, Giovanni would actually fly here from Italy and bring books with him that we could see in person. It was so cool. And so after I ended up leaving the library, I needed something part-time. This was during COVID and everything was virtual. And I reached out to Giovanni and I was like, hey, do you have a job for me? Even if it's even if I'm not making that much money, please, do you have a job for me? And he said yes, and I was so grateful. I was not making very much money, but I was helping them with everything from email marketing to blogging to managing all of their social media accounts, managing their ads, and also helping manage some of the relationships with other libraries at other universities. And so it was a cool job. I really enjoyed it, even though I wasn't making very much. And the other task that I had to help with was all of the marketing around a Kickstarter campaign that they were gearing up for. So Giovanni was friends with this other artist. His name is George, and George Cochran, to be exact. You can look him up on the Kickstarter campaign that he did. And he had been hand drawing, or hand illustrating, hand writing the entirety of Dante's Divine Comedy. And he had been working on this for 7 years. And Giovanni was going to take his project and turn it into a high quality facsimile that he could sell. And they wanted to launch this on Kickstarter. And he was like, Rokita, you're going to do all of the marketing. And so I didn't know what I was doing. It was my first time doing a huge project like that. And we did have a little bit of time to get ready, but it was I don't know, 5 months to get ready for this campaign launch. And one of the first things I did was I picked up a book, because I'm a librarian. I have to, books are so important to me. I found this book called Launch by Jeff Walker. And it was written a while ago. There's some updated copies now, but yeah, it was all about how he would launch products using email marketing. And it was definitely old school. He talked about this experience that I think he had in the 90s with launching things via email. And so in my head, I was like, okay, we need an email sequence. We need to have this way of talking to people about what's coming and getting people really excited about it. So that was the first part that I learned. And so I ended up sitting down with George, the artist, and doing interviews with him. So I would write down everything of like, okay, what's your inspiration? What's your backstory? What kind of pigments are you using for the paper? Is that special, right? What's your connection to Dante and to Italy and all of these things? And I wrote everything down, and I ended up writing an email sequence that was, I think it was like 10 parts, and each one was a story, and it was told from George's perspective, but it was actually me writing it. And tons of photos and behind the scenes, little clips, video clips, and all kinds of stuff. So I wrote this all in just like a document on Google Drive. And we were going to set up all of this on MailChimp. And the second thing I learned was Facebook ads. Okay. And I ended up taking a course from Strong Brand Social. You can look them up. They have a course. I can't remember how much it is now. When I took it, it was like $100. Now it's definitely a little bit more than that because they've continued to update it and make it even better. But it was called Strong Brand Social Express, and it really talked about how to build a brand and how to use Facebook ads. And it was so incredibly helpful. So I did that, and I kind of, from my experience, I knew kind of how to build like a website already and all of that stuff because I had blogs in the past. I had all kinds of digital assets. I knew how to do this already, and I had built my own website before. So I ended up building a landing page for the project that was just getting people excited about what it was and telling people, hey, like, this is what George is working on, and this is what we're planning on doing with the campaign. And at the very end and sprinkled throughout, there was a way for people to join the email list so that they would get notified, when the project launched. So once they entered the email system, they got like some emails that were just like, introducing them to the project again and getting them interested, keeping them hooked, right? And what I ended up doing was running Facebook ads to that landing page. And we grew the list to, I think it was like just under 1,000 subscribers. And we used probably around $3,000 in ad spend. Okay. And then once all these people were on the list, for about a month leading up to the campaign, we started sending this sequence of emails. And that's really what we did. And then right before launch, we were sending a lot of emails, and during the launch. And within the first hour, I think they had made like $15,000. Within the first 72 hours, they had made $75,000 just from this marketing that I had done, which is insanity. I can't believe that I was able to achieve that. So yeah, it was insane. And then after that, I was still helping with the marketing, but they also got picked up by another marketing firm, and they decided to go with them as well. And between my efforts and their efforts, we were able to get the campaign to over $360,000, which is just crazy. So that was a really good learning experience, and just those two pieces of information, and I'm not getting paid to say any of this. I don't even have an affiliate link for the book. Like, I don't have any of that. Launched by Jeff Walker and Strong Brand Social Express. I am telling you, these two resources are so incredibly helpful. And it's more about just like the concepts, even if you're not launching a Kickstarter campaign. I actually did a Kickstarter campaign back in January? It was like between December and January, and it flopped. And the reason why was because I did not have my email list, and I didn't have the money to run ads. So I made it about halfway, and then we had to quit the project because it flopped. And then one of my collectors bought the entire collection of paintings that we were launching. And so we were able to still work on the project, and we're still like finishing it up right now, just without the funding. So that key thing there though is like having that email list and telling people about your story. And so yeah, that's what I would say was the most helpful thing. And yeah, if you're looking to launch something, whether it's a new website or an art collection, or let's say you're launching a project on Kickstarter, whatever that might be, or even a sale, right? It could be something as simple as a sale. The concepts that you'll learn in both of those resources are extremely, extremely helpful. Okay, guys, so that's it. I just wanted to give you just like the 10-minute lowdown on that experience. That was definitely a game changer for me. And I do use a lot of those skills that I learned during that experience to market my art now, and just getting people interested and excited about things. So even if it's on a smaller scale, because I don't have the ad spend is definitely helpful. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend just, starting Facebook ads out of nowhere. You definitely need a course, and it's very helpful to learn from professionals in terms of anything that has to do with ads. I'm just going to be honest. So, okay, guys, that's it for today. Look out for my next video. That's going to be a recap on this week, and how much money I made from my art, and just follow along as I try to go full-time as an artist. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next time.